Okay, we are back. This is round 3 of Dungeonmans soundtrack composition live streaming with me, Zircon. So if you're watching, thank you for joining me. I'm going to move all my windows that are normally on the right monitor to my left monitor so you can see them, including the piano roll here. And today, I don't have a piece in mind, so there's a few I could pick from. I could do another battle theme for the game. Certainly enjoy writing those. Another dungeon theme, possibly. Last time I did the crypts. I could do a different style this time. That was a little slower paced. I could do one that's a little bit tenser and faster. We wanted to do something for the final level of the game, which was going to be sort of in the style of, Final Fantasy IV, the last tower area. Let's see, how did it go? It was like, I'll play it. So, key of G, right? How's it go? Right, yeah. My memory's a little fuzzy. Yeah, something like that. So the final level, that might be fun to do because the existing dungeon themes. Oh wait, you don't hear the audio? Okay, sorry about that. Now we have audio, right? Let me know if that came through. Okay, good. So Jim, we have the developer here, Dungeonmans, for the game. What do you want me to do today? I was thinking I could do another battle theme, I could do another dungeon theme, or maybe start working on the last level of the game. So something like the Purpleonian Tower area. That might be fun. Yeah, why don't I try something like that? So it's got to have a sense of danger, and it has to have a sense that the hero is strong enough that even though there's going to be danger, that you can probably overcome it if you made it that far, but you also might die to a purple thing. So we'll try to get those. I'm going to disable a couple of my EQs here to save CPU. That one's off. Okay. So for those who have not seen any of the previous streams, I'm using a set of sort of old school samples. These are supposed to sound somewhere in the ballpark of like late SNES to early PlayStation 1 games like Final Fantasy Tactics, Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, Suikoden II, stuff like that. Final Fantasy 12 is another reference that has come up many times. So I've been playing that lately, the international version, so that's in my head. And so the samples are supposed to sound in that era. So keep that in mind as you watch. So first, for something like this, we got the final level. It needs to be a little more aggressive, a little bit more tense, sense of heroism. How about finding a tempo first? It's probably about right. Okay, step 2. The Final Fantasy IV track, which is sort of a good reference, starts out with an electric bass sound. So I'm going to find that sound first before I do anything else. I'll change one of my existing instruments first. Okay, bottle chiff. Let's change that for like a... pitch this down. Okay, I have to do this on my keyboard. There we go. I'm not going to rip it off exactly, of course, but I want to start out using a soundscape that's a little similar for inspiration, and then I can sort of change it from there. By the way, at any time, if anybody wants to ask questions or you have comments, just say them. I have the chat open in my right window, so we can talk that way. So something low to start with. Maybe instead of the really fast tempo, let me try some notes like this, just eighth notes. And hopefully it won't sound too much like Doom. I'll try a few different bass sounds as well. This is the key of F. So I'm going to just experiment with some chords on top to sort of set the initial mood of the track. And I am, again, all this is subject to change. It just takes a little bit of improvisation. So I like that. Something with low... Hold on. RC's beeping. Okay. Something with low strings. Maybe starting like that. So I'm going to repeat this pattern and do some low notes, and I'll layer that up with other instruments. So, this is fairly simple. Let's see. I'm going to quantize everything so it is not quite as poorly played as I did. And let me layer this with a few other sounds. For example, timpani would be good. That is very low indeed. Maybe a little too low. Yeah, that's a little too low. Also, the timpani need to be even more snapped. So I'm going to re-quantize those. And this note was pretty off too. So, yeah, I'm not a great keyboardist. What can I say? Okay. Maybe somewhere here have a pad come in. Again, just experimenting a little bit with this. Those chords are actually similar to the ones I used in the first dungeon theme of the game. So I'm going to record those first to start with. Obviously that's really loud and probably not the right instrument, but let's put this on just regular strings. Actually, better yet, I'm going to put it on these strings. I'm going to do some automation to give them a more natural swell. Create automation clip. It's a little too quiet. Let's see. Something like this. Like that. Okay, and then maybe change it this time. So the first time was this. Maybe like something a little bit brighter. That's kind of cool. That's a very Final Fantasy Tactics-esque progression. Actually, that's a little bit better. Let's try that. Maybe add a choir. Now for the choir, I'll need to give it the same dynamic swell. So I'm going to actually link it to, I think, this clip. Still a bit quiet. And maybe also when these come in, adding some kind of additional rhythmic drive. You know, maybe some kind of percussion, perhaps. This is normally my percussion channel, so I'll just need to change that. Let's see, channel 4. Let's load that up. Guess So I'm trying to figure out what instrument would be appropriate here for some additional rhythm. Yes. Perfect. Ship it. Okay. Where's the tambourine? I'm looking for the tambourine. There. Okay. I like sleigh bells. Can use those. It's actually something I use in pretty much every track, I think, in the game. Quantize that a little bit. Also, these are panned wrong. There we go. Okay. Now, I swear there's a tambourine somewhere. Yes. Optimized, of course. Okay. Add some crashes here and there. You can tell my timing is not fantastic. It would behoove most people to practice their piano skills if they want to do this sort of thing. That sounds pretty good. I actually want to emphasize the timpani a little bit more, maybe by adding another layer. Oops, I pasted those twice. Okay. So I could do layer down. Layer up would be better. Old church bell. Actually, this would also be a good opportunity for some deep bass drums. Just got to find a spare channel. This is as good as any. Let's see. We want to get some kind of concert bass drum. I'll probably layer this with something else, but let's see. And I'll give it a double hit on every other one. Okay. That's my other bass drum, but again, I think I can get something better. Let's go up here. This is something that was previously being used for a trombone. No longer. Bass drum, bass drum. Let's see. Taiko. That actually works just as well. Might need to turn this down, but there we go. That's nice and meaty. Okay. Yeah, that sounds very big in the bass range. Should I layer something else in? Maybe. Let's see if this is too much. Oh, you know what? That's actually the same sample I had before. Okay, let me hear this one more time. also, you know what? I realized. Let me do this with the timpani to mirror everything else. Okay. Okay, moving on. So that establishes, you know, something of a dark mood. Something could be big, powerful, and what I want to do is sort of build on that. Since we ended with a sort of heroic chords, that was. Now I want to bring in another percussive layer. And in Final Fantasy IV, they had like a sort of a drum kit or something. And again, in this, things can be changed, but I'm going to start off mimicking it in some capacity. So this again is for rhythmic emphasis. I'm experimenting with different percussive elements here. Boy, there's a lot of reverb on that, isn't there? Okay. I'll record this in a new pattern. Oh boy. My playing there was not good. Okay, here's what we have. And again, this is just sort of the backbone. Now, Jim and I talked about doing a kind of like a slower melody, something maybe a little uplifting, but just sort of determined. So part of the contrast there is having stuff that's moving relatively quickly, and then adding a more legato melody on top. Again, I'm just going to improvise for a second here over the possible chords. So we left off. I'll do these on strings because they're a bit clearer. See, we had So this is something I frequently do when I'm writing, is just sort of let's have a basic rhythmic part, something I can improvise over. I try out different progressions, see what sticks, and I don't try not to get too attached to anything that I play. That's what I left off on. What about that? Obviously needs to be adjusted a bit, but something like this maybe. Experimenting with a little bit of movement here in the chords. So here's the bass line that I'm doing now. Symphony for sure. Oh, I cut in and out, I think. Can everybody still hear me? Actually was not layered with the full string section. reason, that doesn't sound like it's doing anything. Why could that be? Oh, because I wasn't using the layer tool. Oops. Some of these dynamics are a little funky, but yeah, what can you do? Okay, what I want to do is start layering some subtle again, subject to change. So that sounds pretty good, but I want to hear the transition. Okay, so I think this sounds good in terms of the build. It's going from one point to another. It's going from the more intense intro to this. I'm actually going to take out some of that fast stuff. Some ideas there. Okay, for the sake of testing, I'm just going to do this in a new pattern. I'm going to keep the same chord progression for now, but I think I'm going to end up changing this. Ooh, okay, hit on something by mistake. that by mistake too. Okay. Hey, Nabil. Yeah, that's what I wanted. These should be shorter though. Figure out what. Hey, what's up? Thanks, glad you can make it. I said this earlier, but you know, if anybody has questions or suggestions or whatnot, feel free to just say. I'm watching in the chat. Nice. All right. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that so far, I think, because it sounds big. It doesn't really sound like action music exactly, but this isn't necessarily supposed to be constant action, so I think it works. I gotta do a cymbal roll. Those are always fun. I'll do it in a new pattern. The way you do this in MIDI is basically a whole bunch of those in a row. Maybe even faster. Yeah. Oh, those are so cool. I should use one of those earlier. little abrupt. I need to lead into that better. It actually works well if I don't have the first part of the melody there. Hear that transition again. Let me just hear it like this. Smoothed over. I'll keep the horn in though. Let's see. Sad Vader. Constantly asking myself how to organize my sound libraries and stuff. Do you have an article somewhere about how you make templates? Are the libraries you use commercial only? So, what I'm using here, most of this you can get for free actually, because these are samples of the Roland SC88. There's a sound font I'm using called Cadenza Strings, and there's another one just called Cadenza. And then I'm using something called HyperCanvas. This is not free. Unfortunately, they don't make it anymore. This basically is an SC88. For this project, I don't usually start from templates when I make music these days, but for this, because it's supposed to be a very consistent sound, what I did was I wrote one song first, and I figured out all the different instruments that I would most commonly use. So you see like muted guitar, piano, strings, harp, timpani, etc. Those could just as easily be synthesizers. Once I found out what I used regularly, I deleted all of the patterns and then just saved that as a template. So it was like the Dungeonmans template. I've done similar things for electronic music where I have 20 channels of drums and a few different plugins that I use. The only disadvantage to doing that is if you're trying to be creative on the fly and you want to try something that you don't normally use, in some ways it limits you because it encourages you to use your template of tools. So it depends on the project, but most of the libraries I use are commercial. This project is surprisingly about half and half free, and I am using a template for it. So for what that's worth. I hope that answered your question, but let me know if it didn't. One thing about this piece, it already modulated, it changed keys, but it might be fun to kind of do that more. So it goes from... Maybe not, maybe. So the question is where to go from here. Maybe something a little bit tenser. So we just had a heroic sort of horn going up, and it's like, wow, we might actually win. But then there could be moments where you went a little too far into a room full of monsters, and you have to think for a second about what you actually want to do, because the next step you take, you could die. So I think that's more the feeling I want to evoke with the next part. So. figure out what that sounds like. Maybe something with more timpani even. Okay, I don't want it to be action though, so it's tricky. It's a tricky problem. Oh, you know what? Maybe some harp, like. Something like that. What does an evil purple entity sound like musically? These are the hard questions. Something like that. I'm gonna record that, but then change it a little bit. How do I not crash all the time? Well, you know, in this project, these samples are very small. Yes, I did download more RAM as well. I went to ramdownload.com. No, okay. I have 12 gigs of RAM on my computer. I'm loath to bring up the task manager, but you can see at the top, I'm actually only using about 700 megabytes of RAM in FL right now. For the really big projects, the ones where I'm using, you know, super mega turbo samples for orchestra in particular, usually I don't go above about 8 gigs. These days, it's cheap enough that it's not too hard to get 12 or 16 gigs of RAM, even on a somewhat older system. This computer is about 3 years old. When I got it, I could have gotten 24 gigs of RAM, but now you can get 16 or even 32 for, you know, a couple $100. The price difference just isn't that high. More importantly, though, modern samplers like Contact, which I'm not using here because it's for more modern samples, they stream from the disk, so you could have a gigabyte of samples, but in memory it only takes up like 50 megabytes. So using a good sampler like that, Contact, that can save you a lot. I actually could have all these in Contact too, but I didn't. And I don't really have a good reason why. I guess I just like doing it this way. Something like this. I can record that better. I don't really know if this is going to work, but can't know until you try. So, the middle notes. This is where knowing more about theory would help. I'm not really an expert, honestly. One second. Well, okay, that is actually the idea. That's sort of the direction I was trying to go, but maybe not 100% on the notes. We'll see. Here we go. Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool, I think. What pattern did I record? Okay, that was supposed to go into a completely different pattern. I don't know what happened, but no. So the question was, do I make the entire game's music in one track? Well, within a project, I use many different tracks. So every instrument pretty much gets its own pattern and its own track. And then for the soundtrack itself, I do separate ones. Yeah. So what's happening here, we're not using an interactive music system. Old school games didn't really have that. So rather than switching to, combat music literally every time you get into a battle within a dungeon, it just plays one dungeon theme. Now, of course, there are a bunch of different dungeon themes that are picked at random. But in other words, once you're within a dungeon, it's not going to change. So the theme that I'm writing is supposed to cover a different range of possible things you could be doing. That being said, once you get to a boss, the music does change completely. That's a separate file. It's a separate song. So it switches over. So I guess it is somewhat interactive, I guess. But it's not like, Skyrim where it's changing every few seconds. So this track, it will be like a 3-minute thing, and then I'll export it as a wave, and I'll send it to Jim, the developer, and he will, I don't know, put it into a toaster or whatever he does with it. Who knows? Oh, you know what? This could be a little bit like... Oh, wait, hold on. We'll see. I think it might be cool to actually have that repeat, but then get softer each time. Yeah, I didn't need that last one. It's fun recording 2 notes live, but I never remember where the tambourine is. F sharp, okay. There we go. do a roll in real time, so I'm going to have to sequence this. Okay. I don't want to do a roll there. Alter this a bit. Gotta save. Remember to save. Don't lose all your stuff, as I lost a hard drive recently. And even though I was using a backup service, it didn't catch some of the stuff I was doing from that day. It's a very sad day. Very sad. Okay. Yeah, okay, so I need to figure out something with the choir, but for now it's just going to be on this. You know, heavenly, end of the world, apocalypse type stuff. Growing, thank you for joining us. Glad you could make it. Okay. Well, maybe this doesn't need any more layers. Maybe a piano could work. Oh, that's gross. General MIDI brass are really bad. Ear fatigue. Yeah, you can hear I'm repeating parts, of course. So when I'm working, it's not so bad usually. I think I don't usually work for more than 2 hours at a time. That's approximately my limit. You know, if I'm doing more than that, sometimes you start to lose objectivity. But it depends. This is like a pretty good average example of how fast I work. So I'm not that fast for the most part. I mean, there are people that could have written this whole track, you know, by now. If it's going really, really slow, sometimes I get fatigued a little bit sooner because I'm not making progress and I get frustrated. And then I just, again, you get worn down. But if things are moving along, I can sustain it for, you know, 2 hours on average, maybe 3. That's really low. Okay, maybe that's too low. Need to pick better keys to work with. Maybe just some low strings like this. Was I using any strings at all? Oh, I was, but they were... Okay, yeah, I can layer some new stuff on there. One sec, I see a question there, but let me just get this where I want it. It's Inception. I feel like I'm going to do something different with the harp here, but I have to think about it. All right, question, Tay Swizzle. How long is it taking you to become experienced with FL, where everything is, what they can do, etc.? So I feel like I'm still learning FL, but I'd say it took me about 1.5 years to know enough to be comfortable with it and to be able to know all the basic functions, like how to write MIDI, how to use plugins, how to use the EQs, the reverbs. 1.5 years, and that was practicing pretty regularly. Now, I didn't use a tutorial. Most of that was just messing around, honestly, and trying different projects. Nowadays, with YouTube and with FL Studio tutorial courses, like the one I made actually, I think it's a lot easier. You can learn much faster because somebody can show you how to use it. When I started, I mean, this was back in 2003, I think, with FL. So not only was it very different and less intuitive in and of itself, but there were just no resources out there, really. There's no YouTube at all, no Vimeo, no companies putting out DVDs. So I think one could probably master it much faster now. Here, let me work a little bit more and I'll answer the next question. Sort of swell up into the next part. Okay, samples. I mentioned this a little earlier, but I'm using Edirol HyperCanvas for these samples, for most of them. I'm also this is not free. It's also not available anymore. But you can get most of these by downloading the free sound fonts, Cadenza Strings. as well as just Cadenza by itself. And I forgot to mention earlier, I'm using something called Fluid R3. So I'm going to type all these out. Fluid R3, Cadenza, and Cadenza Strings. Between these three, you will have a great old school sound template. Oh, my thing didn't go through here. Wait, Cadenza Strings, Fluid R3. There we go. Typed it up. Now this next part is going to be even more sort of ominous, like. Okay, gotta not do Tristram from Diablo. All right, I won't do that, but it does sound a little similar. I'll try to avoid that. Okay. Tristram is, let's see. Yeah, it is common enough. Yeah, okay. I do have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/ZirconST, but I also Mac Pro Video FL Studio. 1 second. I will link to something I made called FL Studio 101. Now, the YouTube stuff I have is free, and you can find videos like this, and you can get a sense of how to use different things in FL. If you want to go one step further, the course that I made, it's an hour and a half, split into tutorials about different topics using the software. So if you want to literally start from nothing, this will show you, like, click here to edit MIDI. These are the options you want to pay attention to. Here's how you record. It's laid out, it's edited properly. I'm not like stammering and stuttering over my words. I did a million takes. So that's something to consider. It's also pretty cheap, honestly. So, take that for what it's worth. I actually don't get any money from it. They paid me up front, so, I'm not biased. I really do think it's a good resource. All right. Sounds kind of neat. Oh, is it lagging? Okay. 1 second. Okay, that might have resynced it a bit better. Sorry about that, guys. I'm using a plugin that streams to and from FL, so that lags things after a while. Okay, I think I have a sense for what I want to do on the right hand. Something like that, like. sequence some of this. Okay. One more try. Some of that's going to change. It's not going to be the same pattern. Step. We're going to quantize this to thirds, so it's got that different rhythm. Something like that. It's hard to do live. So again, so this is the final level of the game. And for those that didn't catch the beginning, you know, most likely if you're here, you're strong, your character, you've leveled up in the game, you've got some loot, you've advanced your skills and so forth, but it's also the most dangerous part of the game. And I'm trying to sort of capture some of the different moods here. I do want it to sound dark, and it needs to be a little bit more threatening than your average dungeon. The other dungeon themes, they're like a little bit more atmospheric, a little bit more ambient. They're not quite this foreboding, but I probably don't want to get too much heavier than this. what I want to do now. I'm going to turn these down later. I'll actually pitch that down first, and then the second one will be up higher. Boom. Ooh, that was not a good recording. It's like a mishmash of notes. I took piano lessons for years in my defense, but I kind of stopped practicing a little bit. So I have what I would call composer keyboard skills, where you can sort of play enough to get the notes in, but that's about it. Ouch. That's gonna be way too loud. Did that in the wrong pattern. Okay. This is the first time it happens, so this should be shorter. Whoa, what just happened? Whoa, I didn't mean to do that, but that sounds awesome. What the heck? What is causing that? That's hilarious. And it's just those notes. Oh, I have a I have a slide in there. Okay, that's the little triangle icon. Oh my god. All right, I should have caught that. Ah, that's cool though. I should use that later. Wow. Okay, let's play this from the beginning. Might wrap up shortly. Not my cat this time. So I'm bringing in the harp. Let me do a harp transition here. Something in which section? The major part or the minor part? Like this part or this over here? Change the timpani here. The beginning. Okay, well, I will. Yeah, I'll. This is all live, of course. You know, I'm not drawing from any existing pieces, so I may be retooling and reshaping some of this. But this is probably a good stopping point for me. I've been at it for about an hour and a half. So I feel pretty good about the shape of it, and again, the goal is to have something that conveys a sense of like, this is it, this is the final level. It's got to be difficult. It also has to be heroic. It shouldn't be like a slaughter, and also can't be too heavy on the action elements. So I will do another live stream maybe next week. I'll work on it maybe a bit in between, and then next week I will finish it, and yeah, and then hopefully we will see it in the game. So thank you for coming. If anybody has any other questions, I will stick around for a few minutes on the stream, and I'll also be off the stream as well. But I'm going to save the project for now. I feel pretty good about how much I got done. So for automating volume, which I did a little bit earlier in the track, yeah, no problem, Jim. So I prefer using automation clips where possible here. So usually if I'm automating something, I just automate the volume. Some new sample libraries come with, of course, mod wheel control that like fades through different dynamics. And for that, I would make an automation clip, but just of the mod wheel instead. The reason I like doing this is because I can see the automation in the context of everything else. I do use velocity, but it doesn't really make sense for sustained instruments for the most part. You know, if you're in the middle of a note, you can only set one velocity, whereas with a clip, you could do anything you want. So that's my preference most of the time. Yeah, thanks, guys. Always fun. Yeah, this soundtrack is going to be pretty awesome when all is said and done. It's it's got the same kind of sounds throughout. It's really consistent, and it's going to be long. It's going to be at least an hour, I would say, based on the trajectory of things. And there's going to be a lot more coming too. You know, I've already written 8, 9 themes, something like that. Each of them between 2 and 3 minutes. I want to do at least double that for the final game, if not more. Yeah. So anyway, if anybody has anything else, I will stick around in the chat. I'll answer this one more question, which is how often do I stream and do I have a schedule? I don't have a schedule because I don't really have a reason why not. I should. Why don't I say like Tuesday nights are good? So let's do this next Tuesday. It sounds like fun. And at some point, now this is up to 50 users. At some point, I'll probably switch over to twitch.tv, but the issue with that is it's not 100% compatible with the way I have the music stuff set up. So for now, it'll be on live stream next week as well, Tuesday night. Maybe I'll start it a little bit earlier for people in Europe. But yeah, let's say Tuesday night. Okay, I'm going to stop the stream for now. I'll hang around the chat for a little bit longer. Again, thanks for coming, and you can look forward to hearing this finished next week.